Hello and welcome to Face Off tonight. Glad you could join us. And today we're discussing another very interesting topic that is making the rounds. Of course, it may be on a very emotional note as we'll be discussing the Chibok girls, securing the release of other Chibok girls. So we're looking at whether negotiations or no negotiations should be done. The International Committee on the Red Cross on Sunday clarified that its activities did not include negotiating for the release of hostages taken by the terrorists. The international president of the ICRC, Peter, said this in Lagos against the background of media reports that the ICRC was involved in negotiations that led to last Thursday's release of 21 out of over 200 Chibok girls that were adopted by the Boko Haram sect over 2 years that have been in captivity. Mr. Mora said though the girls were released to the ICRC, talking about the International Red Cross, by the Boko Haram sect to hand over to the federal government, negotiations for the release of hostages was not part of the ICRC's activities. However, the senior special assistant to the president, Muhammad Buhari, on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, on Sunday announced that the Boko Haram insurgents had expressed willingness to negotiate with the federal government on the release of 83 more Chibok girls. Now the question is, should the federal government negotiate with the insurgents against the background of all of the arguments that have been going back and forth over the last 2 years? Is the negotiations with insurgents encouraging impunity or simply keeping the peace? This is our topic for tonight, and interestingly we have a guest, Mr. Adetokunbo Odutola. He's a legal practitioner and he also is an NPC member.
Hi, how are you?
Why did you laugh? You are
you qualified legal practitioner and also the membership of a political party.
Interesting. I mean, you should be proud of your party.
I am indeed.
Okay, so let's say to you viewers that up to this time, our second guest, who promised to be here, chickened away in the last seconds of this discussion, and that gives Mr. Adetokunbo a lot of edge. But I'll play the devil's advocate and grind it some more. But before we continue on this, on whether negotiations or no negotiations, what we need for the remaining 83 out of the 200 are left, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll listen to a report or two, then we can get this discussion going.
These girls were released safely to us by 5:30 this morning, Thursday the 13th of October. And they were flown to Kaduna from the location of their release. We can confirm that the DSS pursued the lead in collaboration with a friendly European country and a renowned international humanitarian organization. The DSS was supported by the Army and the Air Force in this project. As soon as necessary confidence was built on both sides, the parties agreed on the date and the location of the release of 21 girls. Please note that this is not a swap. It is a release, the product of painstaking negotiations and trust on both sides. We see this as a credible first step in the eventual release of all the Chibok girls in captivity. It is also a major step in confidence building between us as a government and the Boko Haram leadership on the issue of the Chibok girls.
Instead of waiting for them endlessly at the presidential villa, Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, accompanied by his wife, made his way into the SSS hospital in Abuja to see the girls, 21 of them who are already here and getting recuperated after spending over 2 years in captivity. Emotions enveloped the air in the hospital where government officials hugged the girls one after the other. A special arrangement has been put in place here to ensure that they get back to life, so say the director of SSS and the chief medical officer of the hospital.
The girls, Your Excellency, as you can see, are here before you. rescued in the early hours of today.
We have already commenced treatment for them, but we're still to do a lot more because it's not just a flash in the pan thing.
The Vice President says a short prayer.
Father, we ask that you come and just to replenish them, resuscitate them, revitalize them.
He says the whole country has been waiting for them to be released and that he came to ensure that they are in good hands to start with.
I'm sure that you're going to be very well taken care of. We've already provided very good accommodation for you where you will stay, where you will sleep, and your parents will come and meet you there also.
The DSS called out their names one after the other, all of them looking very frail, with one of them clutching her baby. That done, and in a more elaborate setting, the Vice President told journalists the process that followed the rescue of the girls.
God truly helped us in the negotiations. There were absolutely no exchange of any kind, and certainly any news or stories about 4 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 commanders is entirely untrue. No such thing took place. So much needs to be done to get them back to living a normal life after so much trauma in captivity. As I said, all options we'll consider every option, and we've said that from the very beginning. We're very prepared to consider any option. The very important thing is that we must be sensitive to the fact that we want to ensure that we bring these girls back alive. We want to be sure that we're able to do so. At the same time, we must, of course, balance this against the overall safety and security of the country.
Nigerians look up to the medical doctors in this hospital to live up to their promise to rehabilitate the girls while we expect the release of the remaining girls still in captivity. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
A mixed bag of sorrow, some point tears and pain, anguish, and the joy again that followed the release of these 21 girls out of the over 200 that were taken into captivity some 2 years ago, precisely April 2014.
919 days.
919 days. So let me ask you, why do you think the federal government should negotiate the return? Of course, we heard that 3 of them are on the line to be released if the federal government is ready to negotiate. And you think negotiations is the way to go?
Well, a responsible government must be bothered about even one citizen of its country, not to talk about over 200 citizens of the country. There is nowhere in the world. America negotiated when I recall 2 men that were held hostages by the Al-Qaeda, and the British too also. The negotiation is a global thing that is accepted. Right, there's a bravado for nations to say that in democracy you do not negotiate with terrorists. Terrorists deserve death penalty, but there are ways in which you can go about it. It's just like somebody puts a gun to your head and says your money or your life. Really, when you want to set the person that, okay, I'll give you X amount of money to live my life.
So you're saying that the federal government needs to negotiate with terrorists who have maimed, who have killed, who have taken territories?
Would we want the maiming, the killing to continue? If that will put a solution. You see, what people do not understand is when you negotiate with terrorists, look, not only money changes hands, and we can classify everything as even money, which is the root of all evils. That negotiation also has its own disadvantage, its own missiles that it's sending into the groups of the terrorists. It's either
so you appreciate that when you do such negotiations, you also create a vice that becomes almost hydra-headed.
No, very well, but you see, you would need to come and nip it in the bud. You need information. You need to know where they're operating from. And when you're negotiating with these people, you're negotiating with their group. You want to know their operation. You want to know their mindset. You use it as for strategic reasons. That's why negotiation is necessary. It's essential.
Isn't that putting strength, agility, vitality, and usurping the power that you have as a territorial entity into the hands of some terrorists who wake up and think they can take up nations?
No, I disagree. I disagree completely. It is presumed or assumed to that side to be. But even recently, Obama himself looked at that policy in America and advised we need to have a change of policy towards this hostage terrorism and negotiation. You need to have the federal government can have a posture where it would not negotiate. Nobody. Bush said it the other time that it's only death that the terrorist deserves. But in the long run, he succumbed.